NFL earthquake. Shedeur Sanders has just been offered a staggering $25 million to walk away from Cleveland after the Browns kicked him out. The league is in absolute shock as teams scramble to land the hottest young quarterback in football.
Shedeur dropped the bomb. The Ravens were planning to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round with the 141st pick. But before the Ravens could turn the card in, Shedeur let it be known to Baltimore that he didn't want to be on the roster with Lamar, where he wouldn't have a chance to play anytime soon. Shedeur did not want to be drafted by Baltimore and preferred to end up in a place where he might have a better chance to play sooner.
The NFL world just got rocked by the most explosive revelation of the season. Shedeur Sanders was secretly offered a staggering $25 million deal to walk away from the Cleveland Browns after they completely disrespected him in the draft process. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The Ravens were ready to pull the trigger on drafting the future superstar with the 141st pick, until Shedeur himself said hell no to riding the bench behind Lamar Jackson. Now, as Cleveland sits there with Joe Flacco looking like a statue getting demolished 41-17 by Baltimore, insiders are whispering that this could be the biggest what-if story in recent NFL history. What really went down behind closed doors? And did Shedeur just play the smartest chess move of his career?
I'm going to go ahead. Shedeur was asked about it after the game. My response is I'm focused on the now. I don't really talk about anything in the past, and whatever happened in the past, it is what it is. I'm more focused on the now. I'm more focused on how the game that we just gonna had and figuring out how to move forward from now. You wouldn't even believe my memory don't even go back that far. So yeah, I don't even remember anything post-draft. I remember I'm here, I go to practice every day, and it's a 24-hour rule. It serves no purpose in my life.
Relaying the news, and today we're going to talk about the media.
Right now it's Shedeur Sanders, right? I mean, there is just so much content, so much debate, so much vitriol over Shedeur Sanders. They have remained relevant even when they're not winning. And I really ended up liking him as a person as well, and I still do. I think they really looked at it and thought, he's going to be fine here. So it really hasn't been him as much as it has been everything around him. And a lot of it is...
Look, I'm about to break down something that's going to change how you look at this entire situation. While everyone's focused on Cleveland getting absolutely demolished by Baltimore 41-17, there's a much bigger story brewing behind the scenes that involves one of the smartest power moves we've seen from a young quarterback in years.
It's over.
Oh yeah, today, but you got to understand who they playing against now. You're playing against a divisional opponent that knows you very well.
Let me ask you a question.
What you like to do?
When he was in Cleveland the first time, why didn't they keep him if he was the guy? He went to Indy. Why didn't they keep him if he was the guy? He went to the Jets.
You know the direction.
Why didn't they keep him if he was the guy?
You know why? I'm not saying he's the guy. I'm not saying he's the guy, but it's what you had to deal with right now. And they definitely don't want to. They definitely don't want to make a move that early. The quarterback number 2, because basically what you're telling your team is, we waving the white flag and we throwing it all in.
You see that Ravens game? Joe Flacco out there looking like he's playing in quicksand, getting sacked left and right, while Lamar Jackson is throwing dimes all over the field. But what if I told you that game was actually a preview of what Cleveland could have had if they hadn't completely botched their relationship with the most coveted quarterback prospect in years? Adam Schefter just dropped an absolute bomb that's got NFL front offices scrambling and fans losing their minds. The Baltimore Ravens, yeah, the same team that just hung 41 points on Cleveland, were literally ready to draft Shedeur Sanders with the 141st pick in the 5th round. They had their card ready. The pick was practically made until something absolutely wild happened. Shedeur Sanders looked the Ravens organization dead in the eye and essentially said, "Thanks, but no thanks." This kid had the audacity to tell one of the most successful franchises in the NFL that he didn't want to be there because he knew he'd be riding pine behind Lamar Jackson. Think about that for a second. A 5th-round prospect telling a Super Bowl caliber organization, "I don't want to play for you." But here's where it gets even more insane. Shannon Sharpe, who's got connections throughout the league that run deeper than the Mariana Trench, basically confirmed that when players tell the Ravens they don't want to be there, Baltimore actually listens. He brought up the whole TO situation, where the Ravens honored a player's wishes when he said he didn't want to come to Baltimore. Now, imagine you're Cleveland right now. You're watching Joe Flacco get absolutely demolished, looking like he's moving through molasses while trying to avoid the Ravens' pass rush. Your defense, led by Myles Garrett, who's getting paid $160 million, is out there talking about how embarrassing the performance was. Meanwhile, the quarterback you could have had is sitting somewhere, probably laughing at how this whole thing played out. Let's talk about what really went down in that Ravens game, because it's the perfect illustration of Cleveland's quarterback nightmare. Flacco threw for whatever numbers he put up, but it didn't matter because he's basically a statue back there. Shannon Sharpe said it best. Flacco is a statue. He can't move. He never could. That ain't never been his forte. The Ravens defense had a team dinner meeting after their previous fourth-quarter collapse, and it worked. They came out and absolutely dominated a Browns team that's supposed to have one of the best defenses in the league. Lamar Jackson went 19 of 29 for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. DeAndre Hopkins caught 2 for 64 and a touchdown. Zay Flowers had 7 for 75. This is what happens when you have a real quarterback running your offense. Meanwhile, Cleveland's offensive stats look like something out of a horror movie. 21 rushes for 45 yards on the ground, and Flacco getting pressured every time he dropped back. The Browns fans, who Shannon described as some of the most loyal in the entire league, had to sit there and watch their team get embarrassed on their home field. But here's what's really eating at me about this whole situation. And this is where Shedeur. Sanders starts looking like a straight-up genius. While everyone's questioning whether a draft prospect has the power to tell teams where he doesn't want to go, this kid was playing chess, while everyone else was playing checkers. Shannon Sharpe basically confirmed that something much bigger was going down behind the scenes when he said he'd like to say more. But unfortunately, I think we should move on from this. Then he dropped the hammer. It serves no purpose. I'll leave it at that. That's not the kind of response you give unless you know some serious inside information that you can't share publicly. Think about this for a minute. Shannon's got Hall of Fame credibility, connections throughout every level of the NFL, and he's basically telling us there's way more to this story than what we're seeing on the surface. When a guy like that starts cutting himself off mid-sentence and telling the audience to deduce whatever y'all want to deduce from it, you know there's some serious stuff going down behind closed doors. Now, let's get to the part that's got everyone talking. This alleged $25 million offer for Shedeur to walk away from Cleveland. While we can't confirm every detail of this financial arrangement, what we do know is that Shedeur Sanders had options, and he chose to control his own destiny rather than get stuck in a situation where he wouldn't see the field for years. Look at Cleveland's situation right now. Kevin Stefanski is out here after getting blown out, saying he won't consider a quarterback change for Week 3. They're committed to rolling with Joe Flacco, who looked like he was playing in slow motion against a Ravens defense that had been struggling with fourth-quarter collapses. Shannon broke it down perfectly when he talked about the modern NFL. I don't care how good your defense is. Not in today's game. Yeah, I know everybody say what y'all did with the Ravens in 2000. It's 2025. That's damn near a quarter century ago. Nobody's playing football like they played a quarter century ago. The rules don't permit the kind of defensive dominance we used to see. You're paying quarterbacks all this money, and you're not going to pay them to turn around and hand the ball off. Cleveland thought they had their answer with Deshaun Watson, but he's been dealing with shoulder injuries, Achilles problems, and nobody knows if he's coming back this season. So here you have the Browns, with Myles Garrett making $160 million and a defense that's supposed to be elite. but they can't do anything because they don't have a quarterback who can move the ball consistently. They might have flashes of brilliance. Shannon guaranteed they'll have games where Flacco throws for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns. But that's not sustainable success. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is somewhere watching all this unfold, probably feeling pretty good about the decision he made. He saw the writing on the wall with Baltimore. Sure, it's a great organization, but why would you want to sit behind Lamar Jackson for the next 5 years when you could potentially land somewhere that gives you a real opportunity to compete for a starting job? But here's where the story gets even more interesting. And this is why I think Shedeur might be playing the longest game possible. Cleveland's situation is deteriorating rapidly. They've got loyal fans who deserve better, a defense that can't carry the team in today's NFL, and a quarterback room that's basically empty of legitimate long-term solutions. What if, and stay with me on this, what if that $25 million deal isn't just about walking away from Cleveland, but about positioning himself for something even bigger? Think about it. If Cleveland continues to struggle, if Flacco continues to look like he's playing in cement boots, if Watson doesn't come back healthy, who's going to be the most attractive available quarterback option? Shedeur Sanders just demonstrated that he's not afraid to make business decisions that put him in the best position to succeed. He told the Ravens no because he knew he wouldn't get a fair shot there immediately. He's positioned himself to potentially have leverage over his next situation in a way that most rookies never dream of having. The timing of all this is absolutely perfect, too. Cleveland just got embarrassed on national television by the same Ravens team that wanted to draft Shedeur. The contrast couldn't be more stark. Lamar Jackson looking like an MVP candidate, while Joe Flacco looks like he should have retired 5 years ago. Shannon made another point that's crucial to understanding this whole situation. Until you figure out your quarterback position, you're not going to have any type of success. Now, you could have flashes of brilliance. You could have success, maybe for a game, maybe two. But it's all about being consistent week in and week out and having a chance at winning each week. Cleveland doesn't have that consistency. They don't have that week-to-week threat at quarterback that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. They've got a 39-year-old Joe Flacco who can barely move in the pocket, and a Deshaun Watson who's been more injured than healthy since he got there. But you know what Cleveland does have? They've got some of the most passionate fans in the NFL, they've got talent on defense, and they've got an organization that's desperate for a franchise quarterback. If Shedeur Sanders somehow ends up in Cleveland down the road, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, he'd be walking into a situation where he could immediately be the hero. The fans would absolutely love him because he'd represent hope after years of quarterback purgatory. The organization would give him every resource he needs to succeed because they're desperate for stability at the position. And he'd have the chance to be the guy who finally brings championship-level football back to Cleveland. Here's what I think is really going on, and this is just my opinion based on what we're seeing. Shedeur Sanders isn't just making reactive decisions. He's being proactive about controlling his career trajectory in a way that shows incredible maturity and business savvy. He saw the Ravens situation and recognized that while it's a great organization, it wasn't the right fit for his timeline. He probably looked at other potential landing spots and realized that sometimes the best move is to wait for the right opportunity, rather than jump at the first one that presents itself. And if that $25 million figure is accurate, again, we can't confirm every detail, but if it's in the ballpark, that shows there are serious people with serious money who believe in Shedeur's potential enough to make it worth his while to wait for the right situation. This is the kind of chess move that separates good players from great ones, and good career managers from legendary ones. Shedeur's not just thinking about getting drafted. He's thinking about getting drafted into a situation where he can actually succeed and build a legacy. Meanwhile, Cleveland's sitting there looking at Week 3 with Joe Flacco under center, knowing they're probably going to get boat raced again if they run into another team with a competent passing attack. Their fans deserve better, their defense deserves better, and, frankly, the NFL is more entertaining when Cleveland is competitive. The irony of this whole situation is incredible. The Ravens, who just demolished Cleveland with elite quarterback play, could have had the guy who might have been the long-term answer for Cleveland's problems. But Shedeur was smart enough to see that situation for what it was and make a decision that put his career first. That's the kind of business acumen and self-awareness that translates to success at the highest level. Whether he ends up in Cleveland, somewhere else, or creates his own path entirely, Shedeur Sanders just showed the entire NFL that he's not going to be pushed around or accept situations that don't align with his career goals. So here's what I want you to think about. Was Shedeur Sanders wrong to turn down the Ravens? Should players have the power to influence where they get drafted? And most importantly, is Cleveland going to regret not finding a way to make this work when they're sitting at 2-15 at the end of the season watching other teams in the playoffs? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is far from over. If you want to stay ahead of every twist and turn in this saga, you better smash that subscribe button right now. We're the only channel giving you the real inside scoop on what's actually happening behind the scenes in the NFL. And trust me, there's way more drama coming in this story than what we've seen so far. What do you think? Did Shedeur make the right call? Or did he miss out on learning from one of the best organizations in football? Let me know in the comments below.